Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a herb salt using the herbs from my allotment and my garden. I'm going to be using a fine salt because that's what I've got, and I'm going to be using some coriander and some parsley that I harvested from the allotment this morning. That's just had a good wash and it's been left to dry. I'm going to be using some thyme, which I've had grown in my kitchen, and some rosemary, which I've been growing in my kitchen as well. So I'm now going to take all of my herbs and take all of the leaves off. I find this a great way to preserve any herbs that I've grown, because I do grow a lot of them. I have them in my garden, I have them in my greenhouse, I have them on my windowsill, I now have them at my allotment. And sometimes you do get a lot of the same thing. Once you cut them down, you've only got a certain amount of time before you can eat them. So by adding them to salt, just preserves them for a bit longer. There's two different ways that I preserve the herbs in salt. The other way you can preserve them is by doing exactly the same as you would with the dried method. So you put them all together, whiz them up in a blender or chop them up with a knife. Instead of drying them, you just put them in any sort of storage container or jar, whatever you've got, and you just leave them in the fridge, and they last up to about 6 months that way, which again, I find really handy. The only real difference is the flavour. So the dried herbs have a different taste to the fresher herbs that you've kept in the fridge. So I like doing it both ways, and then I've got two different types of herbs to use. All of the stems that I've got here, they'll just be going into the compost. So this is zero waste. No waste is coming from any of my herbs. And that's why I really like preserving my herbs like this, because there's no waste. Sometimes if I used to harvest too many and then I'd end up not using them. So this means that all the herbs that I grow get used and there's no waste. I've now got my blender pot half full with the herb leaves, and I've got my salt ready to go in. I like to do half herbs and half salt because that's the taste I like, but you can do whatever your taste may be. If you're using a coarser salt, sometimes you need a bit less, but it's completely down to you. It's completely down to your taste. There's no rule, there's no actual recipe. It is just whatever you've got and whatever your taste is. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour my salt in to about half and half, like I say, but it really doesn't matter, whatever your taste is. Sometimes I have put garlic in this before, or chilli. It completely depends what I'm going for. Sometimes I just do one herb if I've got a lot of rosemary that needs harvesting, or if I've grown too much parsley, or whatever the case may be, or if it's a specific dish that I want to season, then I'll add more of one thing, or I'll add just one herb. But this is a mixture today. Okay, so as you can see now, the herbs and the salt have all completely mixed together, and they now just look like a green salt. Okay, so some of this salt I'm going to just put out on this baking tray, and I'm just going to let that dry on the counter for a couple of days, and then I'll pop that into a container and just use it as a dried salt herb. The rest of it I'm going to pour into this jar and just write a label for them. So there it is, my herb salt made from my homegrown herbs. I hope you've enjoyed my video today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.